Some battles are fought in silence. But what happens when one black mother decides to bring the whole world to watch her fight? Let us know in the comments, have you ever witnessed injustice like this? Alicia Turner clutched the crumpled eviction notice in her hand, her heart pounding so hard it echoed in her ears. She was standing in the middle of her tiny living room, staring at the bold black letters as if they might change if she just blinked hard enough. But they didn't. Notice to vacate. 3 days, that's all the paper gave her. Her 10-year-old son Elijah was still in his bedroom, humming some tune he picked up from YouTube, completely unaware that their lives were being yanked out from under them. Alicia's fingers tightened around the paper as rage bubbled up in her chest. She had done everything right, paid her rent on time, followed every ridiculous rule in this rundown apartment complex, and even swallowed her pride when the landlord, Craig Dawson, threw his thinly veiled racist remarks her way. She should have seen this coming. Ever since she confronted him about the black mold creeping up the walls in Elijah's room, he had it out for her. The maintenance request she submitted? Ignored. The sudden rent hikes? Unexplained. The sneering looks every time she walked past his office? But this was a new level. Alicia slammed the notice down on the coffee table and grabbed her phone. She could call legal aid again, but they had already told her what she didn't want to hear. Fighting an eviction without airtight proof of discrimination was like trying to stop a freight train with bare hands. The system wasn't built for people like her. She exhaled sharply and swiped through her phone. She wasn't going down like this. Her fingers hovered over her contacts. Then she hesitated. She knew who she needed to call. But it wasn't family. It wasn't a lawyer. It was Jordan Hayes. Her heart pounded as she opened up his YouTube page. 3.8 million subscribers. Every single one of them followed him for one reason: to see corrupt landlords, scam artists, and racists get exposed in real time. But reaching out to him meant putting everything out in the open. Letting the world see what was happening to her, to Elijah, letting strangers judge, comment, dissect their pain like it was some TV drama. She almost backed out, almost. But then she heard Elijah's laughter from the other room and something in her snapped. No, not this time. She hit send message. The next morning, Alicia woke up to loud banging on her door. Not a knock, a demand. She threw on a hoodie and rushed to answer. Before she even turned the knob, a voice barked from the other side. "Alicia Turner, open up." She yanked the door open and found herself face to face with Dawson, his greasy polo stretched over his beer gut, his smug expression barely hiding his amusement. Behind him, 2 of his maintenance guys stood with tool belts, holding a padlock and a drill. Elisa's stomach flipped. "You can't do this," she said, forcing her voice to stay even. Dawson scoffed. "You didn't pay the extra fee I tacked on last month, so as far as I'm concerned, you're squatting." Liar. There was no extra fee, there was no legal process here. This was just Dawson being exactly what she knew he was. A bully who thought he could get away with anything. "I have rights," she said, stepping out into the hallway. Dawson smirked. "Sure, and I have the right to change these locks. You got a problem, take it up with the city." The maintenance guy lifted the drill. Alicia felt panic claw at her throat. If they changed those locks, she and Elijah would be homeless. Think, Alicia, think. Then, as if the universe was listening, her phone vibrated in her pocket. She pulled it out and saw the name on the screen. Jordan Hayes. For the first time since this nightmare started, she felt the tiniest flicker of hope. She lifted the phone to her ear, keeping her eyes locked on Dawson. "Hey, Jordan, I think you're going to want to see this." Alicia kept her expression neutral, but inside her heart was racing. She held the phone close to her ear, hearing Jordan Hayes' voice on the other end. "I'm already in town. What's happening?" She inhaled deeply. "He's trying to lock me out right now. 2 guys with drills, a padlock. No notice, no warning. Just showed up at my door." A pause. Then Jordan's voice came back, sharp and steady. I need you to hold your phone up and record. Get his face, get his voice. I'm bringing my team." Alicia swallowed, her grip tightening around her phone. Jordan wasn't just any YouTuber. He was the YouTuber, the one landlords hated. His exposés had taken down multi-million-dollar real estate tycoons. He'd once walked into a courtroom with a USB drive full of receipts that sent a slumlord straight to prison. His subscribers didn't just watch, they acted. And now they'd see Dawson. She switched the call to speaker, holding the phone up so the camera caught everything. "Excuse me," she said, stepping forward. "Can you repeat what you just said?" Dawson's eyes flickered with annoyance. "I said you need to get your stuff and get out. I don't have time for this." Alicia turned the camera slightly, making sure the screen captured his face, the drill, the padlock. "Is this an official eviction?" she asked, her voice steady. Dawson smirked. "Call it whatever you want. You're trespassing at this point." Click. Her phone recorded every second. The moment that smirk would be plastered across millions of screens. "You hear that, Jordan?" Alicia asked. A slow chuckle came through the speaker. "Loud and clear." Dawson's face twitched. "Who the hell is Jordan?" Alicia smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "You'll find out." Dawson's amusement faded, his eyes darting to the phone. He looked at the screen, as if suddenly realizing there were more people watching than just Alicia. "Turn that off," he snapped. Alicia held the phone higher. "I don't think so." The maintenance guys hesitated. One looked at the other, uncertain. They weren't paid enough for this. Dawson's jaw clenched. "Fine. You want to play hardball?" He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You think some little video's gonna stop me? This is my property, my rules. You're done here." Alicia didn't flinch. "You're making a mistake." Before Dawson could fire back, a sound came from the parking lot below, the roar of engines. Alicia knew exactly who it was before she even looked. She turned her head just in time to see a black SUV pull up, followed by two more. The doors flew open, and out stepped Jordan Hayes, camera in hand, his videographer right behind him. Two more crew members climbed out, each carrying equipment, their cameras already rolling. Dawson stiffened. "Oh, shit." Jordan walked up with the easy confidence of someone who had done this 100 times before. He was tall, sharp-eyed, and dressed in his signature black bomber jacket. The moment his camera locked onto Dawson, it was over. "Craig Dawson?" Jordan asked like he was greeting an old friend. "You own this place?" Dawson's mouth opened and closed. He looked between Alicia and the cameras, suddenly aware of how trapped he was. "This is private property," Dawson said, his voice losing its earlier bravado. Jordan grinned. "Yeah? I bet the tenants would love to hear more about that." He turned to his videographer. "Are we live?" The guy gave a thumbs up. "Chat's already rolling." Live, not just recorded, live, as in thousands of people watching, right now. Dawson paled. Alicia felt something she hadn't in days. Power. Jordan turned his camera directly on her. "Alicia, tell us what's happening." She met his gaze, then looked straight into the lens. "He's trying to lock me and my son out without cause. No court order, no paperwork. Just showed up with a drill and a smirk." Dawson held up his hands. "This is harassment. You can't just—" Jordan cut him off. "Harassment? My guy, you walked up here with a drill and no legal notice. Want to tell the audience how that works?" The chat exploded. The live stream comments flooded in so fast Alicia couldn't even read them all. "This is illegal. Call the cops on him. Bro just ended his whole career, live. Where do we leave bad reviews?" Dawson saw it too. The realization hit him all at once. Jordan tilted his head. "What's wrong, Craig? You were real confident 2 minutes ago." Dawson's gaze darted to his maintenance guys. "Put that stuff away," he muttered. They rushed to shove the drill and padlock back into their tool belts. Jordan chuckled. "Oh, changing your mind? How convenient." Dawson pointed a finger at Alicia. This isn't over. Alicia raised an eyebrow. Oh, I think it is. Dawson turned, storming down the hallway like a man who just realized he was done for. But it wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Because the internet never forgets. Alicia sat on her couch, staring at the screen. The numbers climbed faster than she could process. 2, 3, 0, 0, 0, 0 views. 1, 0, 0, 0, 0 comments. 1, 800, 0 shares. In less than 3 hours, the video had gone viral. She barely had time to react before her phone buzzed again. Another call, another message. The notifications wouldn't stop. You're everywhere. Check your email. That one was from her best friend, Monica. Alicia exhaled sharply and swiped over to her inbox. It was flooded. News outlets, activists, lawyers. The subject lines jumped out at her. Tenant rights attorney wants to speak ASAP. NBC requests interview. We want to help. She wasn't used to this, wasn't used to people caring. She closed her eyes for a second, trying to breathe, but then Elijah's voice cut through her thoughts. Mom, why is Mr. Dawson on my iPod? Her head snapped up. Elijah was sitting cross-legged on the floor, his tablet in his lap, his wide brown eyes locked on the screen. Alicia felt her stomach drop. She pushed off the couch, moving fast, too fast. Let me see that. She plucked the iPad from his hands and stared at the screen. There it was. The headline. Landlord caught on viral livestream trying to illegally evict black mom and child. She scrolled down, her breath catching in her throat. News outlets were already picking it up. There were screenshots of Dawson, his smug face frozen in time, standing in front of her apartment, drill in hand. His expression, infuriating, arrogant. But the comments, they were worse. This guy's business is done. Somebody find out what other properties he owns. Dude's gonna get sued into oblivion. And then, hope that woman's ready. These landlords don't go down easy. Elisa's blood ran cold. She knew Dawson wouldn't take this lying down. As if on cue, a loud knock pounded against her door. She froze. Elijah tensed beside her. Another knock. Harder this time. She moved quickly, tucking the iPad under her arm, pulling Elijah close. Go to your room. But Mom, now baby? He hesitated, then ran down the hall. Alicia took a breath, squared her shoulders, and yanked the door open. Dawson. But this wasn't the same cocky, smirking man from earlier. This was something else. His face was red, his forehead damp with sweat, and his eyes were wild, like a man watching his whole world collapse in real time. You think this is funny? He spat. Alicia folded her arms. I think it's justice. You ruin my business? She tilted her head. No, Craig, you ruined your business. His breathing was ragged. Alicia could practically see the panic setting in. Do you have any idea what's happening to me? He hissed. My inbox is flooded with hate. My Google reviews destroyed. The city's calling me. People are threatening lawsuits. I have reporters at my office. Alicia said nothing, because that was the point. Dawson's hands shook. You need to fix this. Alicia barked out a laugh. Fix this? Tell them it wasn't what it looked like. Tell them I'm not some racist slumlord. Tell them the truth, she cut in. Silence. Dawson's mouth twitched. Alicia took a step closer. You wanted to throw me and my son out like trash. And now, you're mad because the world saw you do it? Dawson clenched his fists. I'll make your life hell, he growled. You don't understand who you're messing with. Alicia didn't move. Didn't blink. Then, slow and deliberate, she reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. Camera rolling. Dawson flinched. Live. Again. His nostrils flared. You wouldn't. Alicia raised an eyebrow. I already did. The chat was already blowing up. He showed up at her door. "Dude, it's over. Just give up." LeMayo, he really thinks she's gonna help him? Dawson's face twisted, his whole body vibrating with rage. Then he turned and stormed off. Alicia stood there, watching him go, listening as the chat erupted. She ended the live stream and shut the door. And for the first time in a long, long time, she felt safe. Alicia sat at her kitchen table, hands wrapped around a warm cup of coffee, staring at the notifications still rolling in on her phone. It was endless. People were furious. Furious for her. The video of Dawson showing up at her door had exploded just like the first one. 500,000 views. 1.2 million, 3 million. Every few seconds, new comments flooded in. "Someone get this woman a lawyer. How do we donate? She's not fighting alone. This landlord's career is over." Ilia's fingers trembled as she scrolled. She had spent years feeling powerless, swallowing injustice just to survive. But now, she had an army. A knock on the door snapped her out of her thoughts. Her stomach clenched, but when she looked through the peephole, her breath hitched for a different reason. Jordan Hayes. She swung the door open. He stood there in his black bomber jacket, holding a folder in one hand and his camera crew behind him. "I hope you're ready for some good news." Alicia blinked. "What do you mean?" Jordan stepped inside, handing her the folder. Legal documents. At the top, in bold, were the words, "City of Atlanta. Immediate investigation into Craig Dawson properties." Alicia's mouth dropped open. "Wait?" Jordan grinned. "Turns out you weren't the only tenant he screwed over. After your video went viral, more people started coming forward. Former tenants, current ones. The city got flooded with complaints. People are filing lawsuits. They're investigating every one of his properties." Alicia covered her mouth. He was finished. Jordan leaned against the counter. "Oh, and that's not even the best part." He pulled out his phone, scrolling until he found what he was looking for, then turned the screen toward her. It was Dawson, only not how she was used to seeing him. The video showed him outside a building, his office. But instead of walking in with his usual arrogance, he was surrounded by reporters, cameras flashing, microphones shoved in his face. "Mr. Dawson, is it true you've been illegally evicting tenants? Do you have a response to the online backlash? How many lawsuits are you facing right now?" Dawson's face was drained of color. Alicia let out a breathless laugh. Jordan smirked. "He's not getting out of this one." Alicia shook her head, still struggling to process it all. For so long, people like Dawson had operated in the shadows, untouchable. But now, the world was watching, and the world was angry. She turned back to Jordan. "I don't even know what to say." He shrugged. "Say nothing, just enjoy it." Another knock at the door. Alicia frowned, moving to open it again, but this time it wasn't Jordan. It was a woman in a navy blue blazer, holding a clipboard. "Miss Turner?" Alicia hesitated. "Yes?" The woman smiled. "My name is Erica Simmons. I'm with the Atlanta Housing Alliance. We saw your story and I wanted to stop by personally." She handed over a business card. "We'd love to help." Alicia swallowed hard. "Help?" Erica nodded. "We have a legal team that specializes in cases like yours. We also have a fund set up for families facing unlawful evictions. Your story has touched a lot of people. We've already raised," she checked her clipboard, "over $70,000. Alicia nearly dropped the card. $70,000. She stared at Jordan, who grinned. "Like I said, an army." Tears burned at the corners of her eyes. She had fought alone for so long, carrying every battle on her back, believing there was no one coming to help. And now? Now she had more help than she had ever imagined. Alicia wiped at her eyes. I don't even know how to thank you. Erica smiled warmly. You already did, by standing up. That night, Alicia sat beside Elijah as he played on his iPad, for the first time in days without fear. Their home was safe. Dawson was finished. And Alicia Turner? She was finally free.